Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister. We are in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we will be through 2025. In 2026, we'll jump into the KJV. In this video, we're in Exodus, and we are in chapter 9, and we are doing all of chapter 9, which is verses 1 through 35. This one part is called the plague on the livestock. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, 'This is what the Lord, the God of Hebrews, says.'" I think God's enjoying this, actually. "Let my people go, so they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go and continue to hold them back, the hand of the Lord will bring a terrible plague on your livestock in the field, on your horses and donkeys and camels, on your cattle, sheep, and goats. But the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and that of Egypt, so no animal belonging to the Israelites will die." Ooh, okay, maybe he's not enjoying that part. But the rest of this, because he's making Pharaoh's heart hard on purpose, and then coming up with more things that are just like very, annoying and stuff, right? Because all this would be very annoying to have to live through. The Lord set a time and said, "Tomorrow the Lord will do this to the land." And the next day the Lord did. All the livestock of Egypt, the Egyptians died, and not one animal belonging to the Israelites died. Pharaoh sent men to investigate and found that not even one animal of the Israelites had died. Yet his heart was so unyielding, and he would not let the people go. The plague of boils. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Take a handful of soot from the furnace and have Moses toss it into the air in the presence of Pharaoh. It will become a fine dust over the whole land of Egypt, and festering boils will break out on men and animals throughout the land." These poor animals. So they took soot from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh. Moses tossed it in the air, and festering boils broke on the men and animals. The magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils that were on them and all the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not listen to Aaron and Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said to Moses. Okay. The plague of hail. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Get up early in the morning, confront Pharaoh, and say to him," like at some point when you're Pharaoh and you see Moses and Aaron, don't you just go running the other way? Because I would be like, no, you're not talking to me. But then I would be like, the dad, Dudley's dad, right? In the first Harry Potter, when he's trying to run away from, they got to send Hagrid to break down the door. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Get up early in the morning, confront Pharaoh, and say to him, 'This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, said. Let my people go so they may worship me, or this time I will send the full force of my plagues against you, your officials, and your people, so you may know there is no one like me in all of the earth.'" It's like, I'm not playing. "For now, I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with a plague that would have wiped you off the earth. But I have raised you up, or spared you, for this very purpose, that I might show my power, and my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. You still set yourself against my people and will not let them go. Therefore, at this time, I will send you the worst hailstorm that has ever fallen on Egypt, from the day it was founded until now. Give an order now to bring your livestock and everything in the field, everything you have, into shelter, because the hail will fall on every man and animal that has not been brought in and is still out in the field, and they will die." Those officials of Pharaoh who feared the word of the Lord hurried to bring their slaves and livestock inside. So at least they're listening, even if Pharaoh wants to be like a jerk. Okay, but those who ignored the word of the Lord left their slaves and livestock in the field. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand towards the sky, so that the hail will fall over Egypt, on the men and animals, and on everything growing in the fields of Egypt. So Moses stretched out his staff towards the sky. The Lord set thunder and hail, and lightning flashed down to the ground, so that the Lord rained hail over the land of Egypt. Hail fell, and lightning flashed back and forth. It was the worst storm in all of the land in Egypt since it had become a nation. Throughout Egypt, hail struck everything in the fields, both men and animals. It beat down everything growing in the fields, stripped every tree. The only place it did not hail was the land of Goshen, where the Israelites were. Okay. Then Pharaoh summons Moses and Aaron. This time I have sinned, he said to them. The Lord is in the right, and my people are in the wrong. Pray to the Lord, for we have had enough thunder and hail. I will let you go, and you don't have to stay any longer. Moses replied, When I have gone out of the city, I will spread my hands in prayer to the Lord. The thunder will stop, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth is the Lord's. But I know that you and your officials still do not fear the Lord God. The flax and the barley were destroyed, since the barley had headed and the flax was in bloom. The wheat and spelt, however, were not destroyed, because they ripened later. So he only destroyed half the crops, not all of the crops. Then Moses left Pharaoh and went out of the city. He spread his hands towards the Lord. The thunder and hail stopped, and the rain no longer poured down on the land. When Pharaoh saw that the land and hail and thunder had stopped, he sinned again. He and his official hardened their hearts, so Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he would not let the Israelites go, just as the Lord had said through Moses. So he's not going to listen. Now, God, of course, has to give us free will. He always does. So he's really just giving Pharaoh an option to do this. So he certainly is getting creative. I find that fair. Like the frogs especially, right? And from the video before. And it's sort of like it reminds me a little bit, to go back to that Harry Potter stuff, like some of that, like puking, pasties and things, because it's not permanent. It's just for right now. It wears off. It's just supposed to be a prank, right? Kind of when it's the Weasley twins. That's what it's supposed to be. So, and it feels a little bit like that because he doesn't make any of it permanent. All of it stops. It's just the Pharaoh doesn't ever keep his word. So it comes back. That's a little hard for me to process. God always gets his will anyway. But then, I've only ever really known the one. God. Not a pantheon even available to me. And at least until a certain age in my life. And even then, there was no interest in any of that. Because I'd really always spend all my time really knowing the one. So, maybe it's just a perspective I can't understand.